Everything rational that I needed to sustain, contain, we haven't even played yet. I was tired and vulnerable. I was especially. Anger is fuel for a lot of positive action in my life. I store it up, and I find myself my most industrious. It preserves you in times of emergency. The thing about anger, maybe I've talked about this already, is that it's a secondary emotion. The primary instinctual response is fear. The other intellectual, psychological response is that it's a guttural retaliation to a perceived injustice. What was my logic? I got as far as you hit me, I hit you back. Be unrelenting. See, I used to get called a faggot all the time in my village, to my face, from the windows of raised trucks, suburban kids with gold teeth and fitted caps with Monster Energy drink embroidered in them, pitching full water bottles or empty cans of Rockstar at underweight, uptight, half-white kids dressed to the T's. I've always been poor, but I'm dressed like a yuppie. Never let them know who you are. I'm always dressed in Sunday's best. Represent yourself the best as possible. No matter how hard-working or pissed off you are, look well-adjusted and wealthy. The anonymity of the normie, but still I'm 6 feet tall. I'm beautiful. I'm a noticeable beauty, a character. A pretty boy is always begging to get his ass beat. Men hate the pretty boy. His face is a mark of permanent character. They must deface him as a faggot. Oppositely, girls can't keep their hands off of him. Happily and without permission, without qualms, grabbing his dick, groping his ass, if the circle won't hurt her for it. A flattering compliment for a little bit, then is as degrading as faggot. Here's my issue with faggot. Faggot itself doesn't offend me. I don't get offended. Nothing offends me. What's the point? See, faggot doesn't bother me. What you say is unimportant. It's the underlying intent, the expression, the desire to degrade, dominate, and isolate, to control and alienate, to invite abuse from the dominant culture's milieu, to create a bloodlust in the normies for a rail-thin white kid, chum for the sharks, the ape to ape, and it works. You become the faggot, and the village feels glad to join in on the violence. Paint the picture for them. Give them just enough information and they'll fill in the blanks. It's tempting to turn the other cheek, because this is what God teaches us. This is the right thing to do, the Martin Luther King thing to do, because ignoring it is the emotionally mature thing to do. But how often does emotional maturity let people get away with murder socially? Emotional maturity allows people to get away with murder. I react. I'm always willing to turn the knife, and I found joy in it. I'm always willing to fight back, to spit at the redneck in a raised truck, to flip off the redneck, to spit in his windshield, to be passive-aggressive and gay. Yeah, I'm a huge fucking faggot. You want to suck my dick? And the burning hatred of my voice in the black night, the streetlights, crosswalks, the junkies as an audience to my hatred, to my heated response. I'm an animal after all. What about my face makes the world feel it can treat me however it would like, that my only response is to be more compliant. Fear is too sensible. So I see a redneck in Adam, and I drive my fist through his face, and I think we're so fucked. We haven't even played yet. My band's still the new guy here. I'm so tired. It's only our second show. And then that's when he drove the wrapped microphone cord back into my teeth. I was so worried when my jaw locked together that my weak teeth were going to be knocked out. Listen, you fucking ingrate, I screamed. My face was a snake's, neck extended, jaw wide open. I pressed my forehead into his forehead. You have no idea who the fuck I am. It's not about art anymore. You want to sublimate some kind of fucked up personal shit, you gutless fucking scrub? I stared into his eyes. My heat had me shaking for a moment. Then I felt shame and anger. Transfer. Adam had never heard someone get that loud that close to him ever. We demonstrate, and that's the most terrifying form of protest. Our emotions, our egos, they're valid, but is that what we're responding to? It feels authentic to fight back. It feels like a religious experience, as if liberating the legions of us just less likely to act out, then swung again. Caught his fist in my palm and managed him into my other fist swinging. Then something happened in that moment. Most rageaholics make the excuse that they quote-unquote lose control when angry, but we know that isn't true. Wife beaters and baseball players making the excuse. For me, I found myself enlightened. God gave me a halo. I felt the release of my anger as an angelic pleasure. An erotic jolt of joy shot through me from the center of my chest, a light in my heart, and swelling my mouth. A bubble of water and pressure and lucid cool heat. I moved into the body and out of my own. I felt my flesh press against itself as if my spirit wished to escape my body, and began to strike blow after blow, unending the way his face fell, breaking under my fist. My arms sped, cracking like whips, the strike of a snake with each blow, the fangs of my knuckles draining him, poisoning him to weakness, and he collapsed. How savage I looked, red, each muscle tensed, flexed. Stoned and alive somehow, bent over Adam's weak body like a fanged demon, my cradled jaw slack. I have the face of a brilliant stoner, the face of a poet, the face of an actor. This is a great drama. My bones dropped into his flesh and it began to feel safe to start screaming. I heard a cymbal drop. Setup stopped and his band gathered. 4 thin white bodies. The show could hear me over the weak soundtrack. The DJ playing something safe like a garage band. Ty Segall. I love Ty Segall, but not tonight. Imaginary person plays. Shouting in the background, prohibiting kind, shouts to stop or something. I can't hear. The way a car sounds driving past your windows, a single occupied honk, like a parent's gesture, a weak concern. But then the shouting got louder, and they leaped in, Ratchet, and tried pulling me off. Adam, but they couldn't. I think I could hear him crying, muffled by spit, which he was choking on. Finally, the fists rained down. Someone grabbed me by my collar, start slamming me into a wooden wall. A wooden pillar, banister, by the private entrance to the stage became the prop for a 3-man assault against me. I start to feel my head hanging loosely while being rung up against the splintering wooden walls. The splinters entering my back, my chest being pounded in by a mob of horny strangers, too pretty to be so willing to join in. And where was my band? My tribe was somewhere enjoying themselves, being dragged up the walls like laundry up a washboard. My face was swollen, my arms started to go limp despite the fact that I had them prying at the big, oversized hands like apes. But I would have been glad to see an ape. It would be an honor to be mauled by wild animals, Alex Severino tweets. Instead I was a human, they were a man, even though I didn't want to see it. Because all I thought of was myself, and how the image of yourself being torn apart by a gang, by a band. Sometimes you're just on the wrong side of it. You're the ashtray. Submit to the mood of one hairline trigger. A blonde started kneeing me, which is when I saw in the corner of my eye as my head drag dropped limp from the neck. Thank God Austin lifts. His arms came shooting in through 3 huge heads and started prying the bodies apart, enough strength to force the other hand in, and jostled and pushed the bodies apart. I couldn't imagine Austin this engaged. His voice blew over the crowd, who was suddenly quiet, and the music was louder. It was a Tame Impala song, adding insult to injury. His hair, it was bleached blonde. It had these highlights, a pushback, every hair in its perfect place, even as it fell apart. Face reddening, and I dropped to the hardwood limp. Such an idiot. They stopped beating me. I didn't know how he did it. I just watched the bodies readjust. He slowed up and was panting. Adam, it's like a dance the way bodies slowly separate as they disassemble from a beating. I found myself being pulled up by Zach. What an honest and beautiful face, a gentleness, and somehow still unjudgmental of me. There's so much love in the way he reached his hand, beaten. I felt stupid like a little kid for my decision, and so much relies on me as the mouthpiece. Adam would have lost, I thought. a meaningless thought now. Our hands met, interlocking. He grabbed my wrist, upway of my arm, and I grasped back. Once someone told me, this is the strongest hold you can have on someone. I wasn't crying, but my eyes were watering in anger, in shame. I hate to lose. I just let my scene down. I just let my band down. How the fuck are we supposed to play like this? Security showed up too late looking around. They didn't ask anyone questions. It had all already happened. That's why I like dive bar bouncers better. They're not some scrawny, clueless drone who collects a fucking paycheck, or some fat out of shape airhead with no agency. Dive bar bouncers work out. They stop fights. They talk to the parties involved and don't kick anyone out off the bat. They want to know what happened. A certain acceptance of violence. So then security's just sort of floating around, looking at each other, shrugging their shoulders without shrugging their shoulders. That stupid fucking walk, no conviction, like ducks shifting weight. It's okay, Zach Thiessen said. I guess it was all in my face. I felt soft. Everything was throbbing. I started nervously picking a splinter out of my back, a way of distracting from the dignity and honesty of having stood up for myself. I was now pathetic and focused on something. I pinched the piece of wood, which didn't hurt until standing out of my flesh. Zach looked away at the scene. No one was punished, and Ratchet packed up their shit, passed me by on their way out of the venue. I hope they aren't arrogant enough to stay, but that's not how it works. Life doesn't fucking work like that. You have to eat it, in the face of it. Uptight had no idea anything happened. They were... Uptight had no idea anything happened. No one knows what's going on till it's too late. Christine walks up hips first through the door, which is uncrowded. Everyone's at the bar now, a clear path. I clenched my teeth and walked towards the bar to grab a glass of ice water, shivering now. A black girl with a shaved head and a bull ring smiled at me. I thought about trying to smile back, but it would have been the same as using her body, a refuge from my storm of emotions, a sexual sublimation that fails us both. I don't approach. Instead, I scowl at her. I drink an entire 16-ounce glass of water in one solid swallow. I dropped the glass and it rolled down the bar. People who use words like appropriate and rape culture glared at me. I'm sick of seeing so much black. I'm sick of seeing so many tattoos. I'm sick of seeing the fake poverty. I'm sick of the secret society. I wanted a clean girl with a short haircut